Alright, so today I want to make a video on this story out of Global News. Now it's titled, Almost 9 out of 10 Canadians feel food prices are rising faster than their income. Now I've made at least one, probably more than one video on the rising food prices in Canada, but I think that it's such an important issue and it's tied to so many other issues that I wanted to make another video about it because, like I say, it's very important. So let's read a little bit of the article here first. Um, a new survey suggests that 80%, 87% of Canadians feel that food prices are rising at a rate faster than their household income, and I would add in that I'm 99.9% sure that those 87% of people are right. But anyways, the survey released by Dalhousie University did a national-wide scan for what Canadians' perceptions were on food affordability, as well as what they were willing to do to offset the costs of food inflation next year. We've done a survey on Canadians in terms of perceived food affordability because everyone enjoys complaining about food prices, said Sylvain Charlebois, Senior Director of Dalhousie University's Agri-Food Analytics Lab. But the real reason is whether or not Canadians actually feel like they're falling behind relative to their revenues. According to Charlebois, the number of Canadians feeling concerned about food prices relative to their income was way higher than expected. Now, to me, it's not way higher than expected. It's way higher than expected for a different reason. Now, like I say, there's a bunch of aspects to this story. The first one is the carbon tax. One of the biggest reasons that food prices have gone up is the carbon tax. It is a tax on everything. The cost of everything goes up, but the manufacturers have to pay that cost. The trucking companies have to pay that cost. Everyone they can't just. I mean, the margins on a lot of this, on most stuff, is very small. So it's not like they can we'll just take a little loss. They have to raise prices, and I guess the big point there's a couple of big points I wanted to get across. Number one is the reasons why the prices are going up. Number two, of those 87% of people, my guess is probably half, maybe 2/3, probably more than half. I would bet money it's more than half. Have no idea the reasons why the prices are going up. Not only that, they probably have complete opposite reasons. They probably have the whole, the big corporations just want to make more money, or crap like that is completely false, and it lets the real culprits off the hook. Like I say, the real reason this kind of stuff is the prices are going up. Carbon tax is the big one. Government regulations, raising taxes, all this kind of stuff that it kills businesses. I mean, look at the states. You have record low unemployment. You have rising. I mean, incomes are rising faster than any of the last 3 or 4 presidents by a decent amount, by quite a bit. I know the last 2 or 3 presidents have all been like $500 to $1,000. Trump, I think it's like 4 or 5. But it was, I don't remember the exact number, but it was pretty astounding, the difference. And well, what has Trump done? He cut taxes. He reduced regulations. I mean, I think they put a rule in where you have to get rid of 3 or 4. I don't know what the exact number is, but it was pretty staggering amount of regulations you have to get rid of before you can put a new one in. They haven't put in no carbon tax. They're not climate alarmists. Any of this crap. And like I say, the thing that's the most astounding to this kind of stuff is of the amount of. I mean, I've seen other studies that show the amount of Canadians that are living paycheck to paycheck is at an all-time high. Credit card debt is at an all-time high, or at least a record high, at least relative to the last decade or so. And the problem is that people obviously are worried about this. Like, I don't know anyone who's happy that they're living paycheck to paycheck, or if they didn't have a credit card, they wouldn't be able to pay their bills. And the problem is that they don't understand why the problem is happening in the first place. And that's why these kind of things just keep getting worse. Like, people are wondering, well, why does this stuff keep getting worse and worse? It's because we're not recognizing the actual problems. Like, if you're trying to fix a problem and you don't know what the problem is in the first place, well, you're never going to fix it, right? Like, it's a classic scenario. And that's the problem in Canada, and I mean everywhere else that has these issues, but in Canada is that not enough people recognize the actual problems. And if we scrap the carbon tax, if we cut taxes, if we cut regulations, all this kind of stuff, food prices would come down. But we're not only are we not getting rid of it, we're going to have more than likely the carbon tax is going to be raised under Trudeau. At least they're going to try to do it. They'll probably get it through because the Greens and or the NDP and or the Bloc, I'd be shocked if not enough of them went along with it, depending on how far they want to go. There's talk of, like I made a video about it, bringing in this carbon pricing, tax credit or whatever you want to call it. Basically, like a soft social credit system where everyone gets a certain amount of points. All this crap, and it's crazy. And like I say, the problem too is you try to talk with people about this kind of stuff, and people, they don't really care, and you get the people that think you're crazy and all this kind of stuff, and it's just so frustrating. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to, but like the in Canada, we're going to be in for some tough times. I guess I'll put it that way. Tough times are coming, and the thing that's the biggest problem with it is that people's solution to the tough times is going to be more of the same. It's going to be, oh well, we need to go into more debt. We need more government regulation. We need more taxes. And the cycle is going to continue, and it's going to continue until the entire system goes belly up, and that's going to be really, really scary. Like that's basically my end game. And what I would tell people is that the problem with things like this, food prices are rising faster than their income. And I mean, incomes in the West, namely Canada, not as much the States recently, but namely Canada, they're stagnant. I mean, the median income hasn't really gone up in the last generation or so. And it's not because of greedy corporations or the rich getting richer. California is the only example you need to debunk that, is that they have the biggest income gap out of any of the states by quite a bit, but yet they're one of the, for arguably they have all the leftist, far left policies that you can possibly imagine, and look where it's got them. So claiming that it's just the greedy rich, the greedy corporations, well, no, that's complete BS. It's the greedy government. It's the greedy people at the bottom, to be honest. It's the people that don't want to work, or maybe they're working, but they're working a low wage job, and they're like, it's reverse morals, it's reverse ethics. That it's greedy for the the guy making $1 million a year to not want to pay half to 2/3, whatever, 70%. I've heard some of these Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren and whatnot want 70-80% marginal tax rates. It's greedy for the rich people to not want to pay that, but it's not greedy for the person making minimum wage to not want to basically take more out of the system than they're putting in. It's greedy for the rich guy to put in 1,000 times more into the system than the poor person. Basically that's the leftist theory. In my mind, taxes should be a lot more evened out, because that would create a lot more of an incentive for people to work their way up the chain. And when you have a system to where people, basically get rewarded for being at the bottom of the barrel, then what incentive to, especially the less intelligent people, which is most people at the bottom, to come out of that? There isn't any, because they're being rewarded for being at where they're at, and people are being punished for being at the top. So, like I say, that's another problem in and of itself. But main point I want to get across is that for anybody who doesn't already understand this kind of stuff, the reason why this kind of stuff is happening is because your solution to it is more of the same. It's more taxes, it's more carbon tax, it's more regulation, it's more of the same. Like I say, I don't think it's the official definition, but the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And with this kind of stuff, that's what Canadians are doing. It must mean that we haven't had high enough taxes. We don't have enough regulations. The carbon tax isn't high enough. And that's like what I said. We're going to keep doing the same thing over and over until it completely collapses. And that's Canada's end game. So I'll leave it there. If you like the video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more.